Good morning. Welcome to the January 17th meeting of the Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee. Can we stand and pledge allegiance? Approve the agenda. Are there any amendments anyone feels are necessary? Not, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Our first order of business is the election of a chair and our vice chairs for 2024.
Who are the vice chairs? No, you're one of them. Are you first or second?
I'm second.
So who
Steve is the
you're
first,
Steve is the first.
and he's very good at it.
That means you're not.
In my judgment, I think the fact that we had a chair and two vice chairs worked very well this year. The three of us would meet with Chad to set the agenda and talk about issues. And the vice chairs are representative of the subcommittee work, and I just thought it was good, and we should continue that.
Are you nominating yourself?
We'll have would someone like to
Sure,
nominate a chairman?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You and I have spoken about this, and due to your recent change of heart, I'm going to nominate John Farrell as for our chairmanship for this year.
We need a second.
Oh, I second
Go
that.
ahead.
Is there any discussion about that? Doesn't it? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, as the vice chairs, I would like to nominate Steve Hines as the first vice chair.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
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 As the second vice chair, I will nominate Candace Seibin
Steven.
as our second vice chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. That was easy.
Well, congratulations to the newly elected committee leadership.
Next item are the meeting minutes from November 15th. We didn't meet in December. So November was our last meeting. Are there any comments or of additions or changes that need to be made? If not, I need a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
It's seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Would you have that too, Katie, please? Are there any public comments about the agenda? Mary?
Mary Hughes, 513 Lakeshore Drive in Sunset Beach. Two things on your agenda. I'm interested, obviously, in the Twin Lakes discussion. And then also, I went to that local restaurant recently with their biodegradable plant-based products. I know you have some of these.
Right.
There's two extras.
Thank you.
I did go on their website, and that local restaurant is spending probably 66 cents per customer to provide the silverware, the plate, the container they serve the food in. So, they are spending some extra money to produce that. Greenprint, who is the manufacturer, has a phenomenal
Can
website.
you speak to the mic?
Greenprint, who is the manufacturer, has a phenomenal website. They actually list their competitors and why their competitors are also good. So I think it's just an interesting website to take a look at. Thanks.
Thank you. Or any other Any other comments? Okay. Old business. First item of old business is the Earth Day, Arbor Day event. In the past, we've had a subcommittee that of 3 people that have worked to organize and coordinate the Earth Day, Arbor Day event. This year, we have not had enough volunteers to form a subcommittee. Michael and Don have stepped up to be part of that, but it's more than a 2-person job. And we missed the time period in December to get started on this, and now we've got to get going. Maybe I'd like to ask Candace and Mila to sort of share with us what we need to do to get started on this organizing, because we've got invitations to send out, and I'm not sure I remember
Well,
everything else.
Mila
that
and I
needs-
spoke during the week about it, and fortunately, she's extremely well organized, and she kept a lot of the information from last year to make it simpler for this year. So I'll let her talk to that.
So last year, we consolidated a list of vendors, of potential vendors in Excel database. So we have it already. I also drafted the press release and the invitation text, which both were approved by Lisa for distribution. So I'm very happy. And I also put together a list of media outlets that we would like to send the press releases to. Last year, we had a timeline by which date we are going to do what. So I'll be very happy to pass all these documents to whoever is the chief organizer. So what we need to do, we need to sit down probably with Chad or whoever is in charge of this to see what the town's vision is for that event. We know the date, we know the location, I assume, and then what are we going to do? Are we going to bring the same vendors? Things like that. So once we know the theme, once we know the structure and our town partners in the event, then we can consider how we can help. We're ready to help with that.
I think by this time last year, we had done all the parking notices and had all of that signed off because we have to have all of the adjoining businesses let us know if they'll allow parking or not, and that took some time to get that together because they're not always all there. And I believe we had already sent the invitations by now because we needed to get on calendars. If not, it should. I mean, you're right. It should be going now because it's not that far away. The other problem we ran into last year, and I don't know if we have a way to resolve it this year, is that we needed liability insurance for some of the people we wanted to have as speakers. And so if we want to do a speaker panel, that's something to think about, who you would want to come in as speakers and make a presentation, and will there be a sound system available for them to use or what? So those kinds of issues need to be worked on now so that we can let them, as we invite them, we can let them know what facility will be available for them.
Chad, can you update us on where the town is at on the event coordinator?
Yeah, I can update you the best that I can. So I would urge you to schedule a meeting with Lisa and Tara to sit down with them. I can be involved in that meeting. That way you can get the application in. They can give you direction on everything that y'all just spoke about, especially their guidance on the liability, the vendor list, stuff like that. And you can go from there. Yeah, because we need to go. But I think step one is to sit down with a minimum of Lisa and Tara and get some guidance on that. And if you need help setting up that meeting, I can try to be of service.
Since it sounds like there is not yet an event coordinator, who from the town will,
It would be Lisa and Tara have taken over that. I know they're working on trying to get somebody hired. I'm not sure where they are in that process. I think they're close, but they are acting as the event coordinators, tag teaming it as of right now. I'll be involved, obviously, to some degree, but as far as the overall day-to-day aspirations of planning the event, working with the event, coordinating the event, they will be the first two that you need to talk to about all of that.
Question. So there are a couple of people in the community who are really, interested in doing some volunteering. Can we involve them, even though they're not part of? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that was, I think, John's vision of this.
Mhm.
That's fine. I was surprised you didn't show up sooner. Yeah, so, Emil, I mean, that was John's vision of having volunteers that can, if there's 3 people off this committee, that's one less than a quorum. Right? So you can have volunteers that are not made up of this board help you. That was John's vision. That was my vision when we talked about having extra hands to work with this event to help it move forward, because you're a advisory board to the council, all 7 of us just can't be in one room together to plan this. And meeting only once a month hinders you from doing that. So having 3 on a subcommittee to help plan this with as many hands as we can, absolutely.
Okay.
Don and Michael, what are your thoughts about this?
I made a resolution to support the healthcare community by getting as many medical appointments as I could. I've had some, without going into detail, some complications with surgery and an infection that wasn't there that was there. So I'm kind of on I'm having some other issues that are taking up my time and my sleep these days. And also giving me a fair amount of pain and discomfort. Ergo, if I could go back in time and kind of pull that hand down, I would. I'm happy to help. I don't know, to be honest, at the moment, whether or not I can take the lead, and I think somebody needs to take the lead. And then I'm happy to do whatever I can as long as it doesn't involve physical motion below the waist. Above the waist, it's fine. I can pick up the phone, call, and whatnot. But I do have some ambulatory problems these days. That's probably more than you wanted to know, but let me throw that out there at the table.
So, Don, this is not an event that one person can.
Oh, I know that. I know that. I'm certainly willing to help. I think we would depend to a large degree on the blueprint that the previous birthday put together, and just kind of build on that. And I'm hoping that somebody else on the committee would step up and work with me and the town staff on that. But the idea that we need to get it going now is on my mind. I'll have to say that I had intended after the November meeting to get going on this, but between some family issues and just leave it there, I've been distracted. I think those distractions are by and large rearview mirror, I hope.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, who is currently on the Earth Day Arbor Day event subcommittee?
The 2 people that had volunteered for that were Michael and Don.
Okay. All right. Do we need a third?
Well, we need a third.
I would
Everybody has said pretty much the same thing.
I would suggest this. I would suggest we form a subcommittee today. And then the second part would be taking that subcommittee and tasking them to meet with Lisa and Tara and myself to go forward and get direction, and then have a little bit more information to move forward this in February. But at minimum, we need to form a subcommittee that could start working on this moving forward now.
Yeah. Well, I've got to say, I'm a little bit like Mr. Cassidy. I've got, even though the end of the rearview mirror, part of my social life revolves around medical community. So I hope that most of that's behind me now. I hope. No disrespect to the medical.
Yeah.
But I do sense we need to get going sooner on this rather than later.
Yes.
Okay, so
If there's ways that I can help, I'm not unhappy to do it. I cannot be heavily involved because I may be needing a major surgery myself. And given the time constraints we have, I'm not going to know probably until the next ERC meeting how much involvement I can have.
Let me suggest something. So how about, well, Candace and I, we have already committed to help as much as we can.
Mhm.
We have experience. We have all the documents ready. So there is no willingness for anybody to step up to the subcommittee for different personal health, travel, other commitments reasons. How about we have a person from the town who is the coordinator who will work with us, with Candace and me and Michael to the extent, and whoever.
Right.
And we will commit to do as much as we can without committing to subcommittee. Because for me, for instance, I can be out there somewhere working in April, but I'm ready to go and help now at the initial stage to start drafting, sending out documents so we get started. That's my suggestion, my commitment to that.
So could we maybe as a first step schedule the meeting with Lisa
Tara,
and Tara? And if I'm able to go, I will. I really just don't know because one of my big procedures is coming up this week, and I'm not going to know anything till that's done. But if I can be there, I will. I think, Michael, we should just let you rest and get better. And if there's things, especially as we get closer to the date, if you're doing well, you may want to just come and attend and hand out literature or something like that.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I
get where you're at because I'm kind of in the same place. You know?
I hope you don't get the same.
You don't need to convince her.
I mean, I'll also throw this out there. I have zero problem if Mila and Candace want to sit down and schedule that meeting, bring that back to the board in February, then we reform this subcommittee. I will say that from experience, and Candace and knows, I think you're doing this for 3 years in a row, and Steve and the former Steve used to, Rich, Steve, and Candace, and I know John knows as well. This is a pretty heavily timely thing from now until March, April, and May, and pretty demanding at times too. So if we can't commit to that, then we need to figure out what that looks like from this board. So
I have an idea that let me form the idea.
Been there some.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's in
I
there
don't want
somewhere.
to, I don't want to disrespect any of the form of the committee or who we voted on, but I mean, if it needs to be the chair, Mila and Candace, to go into that meeting to come out of that with something more concrete moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know that we voted on anything, but we did have some.
Well, I don't want to disrespect Don and Michael either.
No, I
No,
understand.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Would that be a good approach? And at least then the three of us can come out sort of knowing where this is going.
Well, and
Because if we wait till February, it's almost too late to send out some of the information.
we need to meet now.
Yeah, I agree.
And who would meet the meter? Who would meet with Lisa?
You, Mila, and I would meet with Lisa and Tara. And you can be there, right?
I would like to be in that meeting only to see to get a better picture of stuff.
We can't because it'll be a quorum then.
Oh,
I mean, if it,
okay.
Unless you want to take my role.
No,
I'm more than happy to give it to you.
No.
Okay.
Depend on you too. That's the impression on me.
Would it-
I'll
that's what
also
we'll do.
throw this out there, and I know you said you had a procedure. That's
Yeah.
not public information that needs to
Yeah.
be said, but if you can't be at that meeting, we can always schedule Dawn in your
Right.
place.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, good. Just let me know when it is, so.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
It's likely to be next week, I think.
Probably.
That
I need to
that
figure
would be
out.
really
I need to
helpful.
figure out staff schedule. Not everybody's here every day of the week, so.
Well, I think they formed the idea.
Okay.
Okay, so there will be a meeting with Lisa and Tara, and it will be Candace and Mela
You,
and me.
Well, I can go in place if you.
or, yeah, I guess Steve could go if you're not. able
Okay,
to.
that's fine. That was kind of the idea that was popping into my head.
Okay.
Now, I have prior commitments lined up for a trip in February from the 14th to the 21st, which will affect the scheduling of our meeting in February. It also affects my availability to do things, but we can't wait that long for the meeting anyway.
So basically, in my head right now, if Candace can't be there, Don will be. If John can't be there, Steve will be, and Mila, you
Well,
are
in my place, Steve will,
Steve's gonna go.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have the February meeting rescheduled down in new business at the
Right.
end. So
now, are you going to arrange the meeting with,
I'll arrange the meeting.
okay,
So Chad, the meeting will take place in January, right? As soon as we can
Yeah,
get
as soon as I
everybody on
can
board.
get it.
Okay.
Yep.
Next week. if
I'll
possible.
look at next week
For me, afternoons are better.
Okay.
2 o'clock.
after 2.
After 2,
All right.
if possible.
is there any other discussion about this? As I will echo, as Chad has said, this becomes a full-time job. And I know that's why it's something that people don't like to do from year to year, because it is a lot of work. But we got to get this going. Next item is the Jinks Creek Tubbs Inlet shoaling update. Alan, can you put that slideshow up? We saw this in November. To turn it on?
Yes.
What a novel idea. All right, well, while he's getting the batteries changed, we had some additional photographs taken in December and in January, or in the end of November and in January. And since our meeting in November, there have been a number of major storms that have impacted upon the tide levels in the Tubbs Inlet and Jinks Creek area. There you go. Okay. Here we are back in May. These pictures will look a little bit different from time to time because of the tide levels. This particular picture is at a very low tide level, probably with the tide below datum. But you can see the area that the town has dredged, and you can see the sand forming around the docks on the Palm Cove end of the island. Notice the channel here. This is where the incoming tide comes into Jinks Creek, and you see the tide channel coming in from Tubbs Inlet. And it goes up around the end of the spit and comes down across the shoreline on Palm Cove. And as we go through the different months, we see increasing erosion along the shoreline. Here we have the east end. We're out east of Palm Cove, and the tide, the flood tide coming in, it has eroded back that shoreline quite a bit and has attacked the point on the sandbags at Palm Cove. You can see how high the water has gotten by the erosion on the sand on the island. And if you look closely here, you see how it's gone over the top of the sandbags and it's starting to cut back on the land above it. This is at a high tide where it really fills up the glass. It's right up to the brim, and if that erosion keeps progressing, it's going to threaten the property at Palm Cove. We'll show some pictures later, but at the end of the summer, Palm Cove did some maintenance on the sandbags, and they built this up. And when we had the Bird Island celebration with the DCM, I was talking to one of the permit officers, and he said that Palm Cove has entered into discussions with them about how to build some protection along this edge of their property, and I don't know where that stands.
Like,
Other than the
like a
fact-
living shoreline type of protection?
What he said was more sandbag related, but there's no shoreline there to put sandbags on, so I don't know how they would do that. But that erosion is continuing, and at the time the tide is high, the water gets up over that spit of land, and that incoming tide washes sand from that spit into the Jinks Creek area, and that's what's building up a lot of the shoaling that's there. We get into October. And what we see here in October is the start of the erosion of a channel across that spit. And that channel is progressing, and that channel will short circuit the pathway for the incoming tide to come into Jinks Creek. And it is a channel for the outgoing tide, the ebb tide, to go out into the ocean. And we're watching that because if that gets real deep, that incoming tide is going to it's going to divert a lot more water into the channel along the shoreline at Jinks Creek at Palm Cove. Here you can see see how much more erosion has occurred. to see how much more erosion has occurred by October. And how much more sand there is in that delta that's formed in the Bay Area. This is where we were, I believe, in November when we showed the pictures at the last meeting. Now, at the end of November, we got some additional pictures, and you see this, the erosion in this channel across the spit has grown. This is considered a breach of that spit. And it's not something that's happening quickly, but it is progressing. And you see how the direction of that, the flow through that really comes down this flood channel, this what they call the flood tide channel, and impinges upon the island in front of the Palm Cove area. This picture at the end of November shows the maintenance work being done on the Palm Cove sandbags. They dug all that out and rebuilt that sandbag corner to strengthen it against the floodwaters. And that was all done in accordance with the maintenance provisions under their existing permit. So they worked, I was told they worked hand in hand with the DCM to do all that work. This was the end of November. These are pictures I took walking down around the east end of the island, and you can see the height of the erosion on those sand dunes. And you see the work that's being done over here on the corner. Now, this is from January 15th, so it's a couple days ago. We had the nor'easter. We've had several events of very high tidal flow at the end of December and in early January. And you can see how the erosion has continued and it's climbed up the bank here. The work on this corner has been finished and strengthened, but the erosion is starting to work around that corner. And yeah, it's working behind it. And according to the permit officer from the Wilmington office of the DCM, Palm Cove is trying to work out an arrangement with the DCM to provide some protection for them from that. But one of the complications of this is that their property line is right there. This land is all owned by other people. But the one idea that Steve and I had was in discussions we had with Dr. Mariko Polk of the Sea Grant group. We had the idea that possibly living shorelines can be put in there that can provide some protection against further erosion of that shoreline. And we've started discussions with her, and we've got to do some more follow-up work on that. But that's one possibility of something that can be done to protect this. And if you see that in this picture, not only did they work around the corner, but they added sandbags along this end of the shoreline. Now, this particular time of day when the picture was taken, the tidal level was below datum. It was about a quarter of a foot or half a foot under zero level for tide. So that's going to show a lot more sand in these photographs than we see if the tide was a little bit higher. But the sand is really accumulated around the docks there, and that really blocks, that's an obstruction to any large amount of flow through that channel area. So not sure what you can do about that, but that's the condition that exists. And in this picture, we see how large the delta has become. This grass area up here is something we noticed starting to grow in the springtime. And in that time, it was a lot smaller, and now it's gotten a lot bigger, and it's going to continue to grow. And that's going to eventually, if that continues to grow large enough, that'll be a marsh area similar to what we have, right beside it. Steve, do you have any other thoughts or comments about these pictures?
No, we're just focusing on Palm Cove for this presentation, but I also keep thinking about the inlet migration and where it was back before Mr. Gore moved it. It seems to be sort of very slowly working its way back towards Sunset Beach.
That's a good point. And historically, the dominant flow through Tubbs Inlet is through Jinks Creek. It comes down from the Intercoastal Waterway up here, down across here, and goes out around into the ocean. Sometime in the last, I'll say 4 to 6 years, the flow through the Jinks Creek area has reduced, and the greater flow through Tubbs Inlet has come in from behind Ocean Isle Beach. And the pictures were donated to us by Mickey Cochran out of Ocean Isle Beach. And when he took these pictures, he didn't get pictures of the inlet. But the inlet has moved westward away from the end of Ocean Isle Beach Island, and it's moving towards Sunset Beach. That has happened before, and it's not an unusual occurrence, it's natural. But what it will do is that's going to put a lot more pressure on the east end of Sunset Beach. And it's going to create some problems for the Palm Cove people, depending on how far it goes. But we're monitoring that. Our concern has been the shoaling and in the Jinks Creek area. I will say that the people in Palm Cove have come before the town council. They came originally in April, and they came back again in January, just a couple weeks ago. And they're proposing that a navigation channel be dredged across here, and it would go pretty much from the end of the dredged area up here, and it would go up this way to connect into the channel at the end of the spit. I think, and Steve and I have talked about this, and we believe that the conditions in Jinks Creek have changed significantly enough that there should be a discussion with the Palm Cove people about the changes and what the best option is to protect their shoreline and allow them to remove those sandbags. When those sandbags were permitted and installed in, I believe it was 2020, they have an 8-year period to come up with a solution that would allow the removal of those sandbags. And they're working very diligently to try to do that. And that's one of the reasons we thought the living shoreline there might allow them to remove those sandbags. And if that's successful, it could be done without having to have a dredging project across the Jinks Creek area. And that would be a lot less expense for the town and for the Palm Cove people. But it doesn't meet all the objectives that the Palm Cove Homeowners Association have for their community. So anyway, we've got this. We've got to get more pictures. I need to get Mickey to get some pictures of the inlet and to see where that channel is at, how much that has grown. But that's kind of where we're at today. And it's, I think this has become very useful information as the town looks at the dredging, at working with Palm Cove on a dredging project. I think there are some viable alternatives to doing that. So, are there any other questions or discussion about this? Anything to add, Steve?
No, you covered it pretty well.
Okay.
John, it seems, excuse me, at the risk of being very pessimistic, that there's an inevitability here over the course of a longer period of time that nature is stronger, if you will, than any sandbag. So going forward, is that being taken into consideration? Kind of what's happening with climate change, what's happening with coastal erosion across the eastern seaboard, and what is realistic in terms of continuing to fight nature. Well, I just thought I'd throw that out.
$1 question. What is it?
Michael, that's a very good question. I don't know that there is a clear answer to that. Yes, climate change is causing sea levels to rise. In the last 30 years, sea levels on the coast that we're on have risen about a half a foot, 6 inches. But in the next 15 years, it's forecast to come up another foot total. Now, an additional foot of water in there is good at high tide is going to wash over those sandbanks. And so the only protection that can be gained right now would be, that I know of, would be to raise the elevation of the sandbanks. But then you've got to do something to keep the water from going around the sandbank. So I don't know. I'm not a coastal engineer. Steve is a marine biologist, but he's not a coastal engineer. So we will leave that up to the professionals to decide what to do and how to do it. But we can share information we've gathered, and we can have discussions about it. We can look into alternatives. Coming up with nature-based solutions here is obviously an idealistic way of providing some additional protection for the shoreline. But if the sea level rises another foot, that not only creates challenges for Palm Cove, but it creates challenges for all of Sunset Beach. And we'll just have to see how that works, and what the issues become, and what can be done to deal with it. I will say that we are in an ideal location. From what I've been told by experts, the geology under the coastline area that we're on is bedrock and is not subject to the subsidence, to the sinking that's being experienced in other areas of coastline, such as up at the Outer Banks. And you read stories about the flooding that's occurring up in the Outer Banks. Part of that is the rise in sea level, but part of it is that the land is naturally subsiding, it's sinking. So when your land sinks and your sea level rises, that magnifies the impact of that difference. But we don't have that subsidence here. And we have not seen the flooding problems here that other areas of the North Carolina coast or the South Carolina coast have experienced because of the natural geology underneath us. I probably told you more than I really know. Any other questions or comments?
It was excellent study.
It's been fun. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before we move on to the next agenda item, I think from this board standpoint and the nature of the situation, and what came out of the last council meeting is that the town has looked to our attorney to enter in to form a memorandum of agreement, or an MOA. And the details of that is currently being hashed out between Palm Cove HOA, their representatives, and the town attorney. They're asking the town to represent them on an application that would help their dredging project to move forward. The nature of this, I think it would be best that if this board wants to be involved in that process, that needs to come as a formal motion and seek direction from the council to formally be involved in that process.
Okay.
Did you get any guidance? You just did the presentation to the council, the quarterly review.
Right. And I think what Chad has just said is feedback to that.
Okay.
I commented after Palm Cove gave their presentation, and I recommended to council that we be involved in discussions of that project. And I have since followed that up with an email to the council members, and I believe all the members of the ERC have that. And in that, I also recommended that we would be involved in a discussion with Palm Cove and their engineer. And if I understand what Chad has just said, then I believe we need I need to make a motion that the ERC would agree that, I don't know if agree is the right word. I would make a motion that the ERC wants to offer the results of our study but the ERC believes that the information we have gathered is beneficial to the town and to Palm Cove and should be discussed with the town and with Palm Cove if the memorandum of agreement goes forward. This isn't coming out right.
Any suggestions how he should phrase that?
I put down
how
here,
we
need a
should-
motion from this board to council to approve your formal involvement with the town, the Palm Cove POA, and the MOA.
So I move that the ERC show me what you wrote there. I move that the ERC go to council in order to seek approval for our formal involvement with the town and the Palm Cove POA
And the MOA.
and the MOA. So it's
We
just
have
saying
a
we're-
motion. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Discussion about that. Steve, what are your thoughts?
Chad, did you write that motion?
Katie, I'll make sure Katie's got it. You got it? All right.
Just wonder if I could hear it back.
Motion with her to request that the ERC approach council in order to seek approval for formal involvement with the town and the Palm Cove POA and memorandum of agreement.
Yeah, I think the first part of that, I don't know that we need to approach the council. Just request of the council that we be involved. Just so if you don't mind perfecting some of that language.
Is that all right with you, Candace?
Sure, so we can just amend the motion to say that not approach the council,
Just,
but
yeah, take out the word approach. And we've already
gain approval from the council.
just
To seek
request.
formal approval.
Seek formal.
Request, yeah.
Seek formal approval from the council to be involved with
Okay.
Palm Cove.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
better.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second, correct, Katie?
Motion
not a
and second.
second.
All in favor?
Seconder, okay.
There's not a who seconded.
Michael seconded it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will work on taking that motion to council in February.
Thank you, Chad.
You're welcome.
The next item is the discussion of the January report to town council. Each one of you have a copy of the report we gave to the town council. And I hope that you've had a chance to watch the discussion that took place on YouTube. It was a good chance to update the council on our accomplishments from last year and what our plans are for this year. Part of those plans for this year were telling the council that we would like to be involved in improvements to Twin Lakes in some way, shape, or form. And Mary Hughes, who spoke this morning, and several other members of the Twin Lakes Conservation Association spoke to council. And we have gotten no direction back from council as to what what they would like us to do around Twin Lakes. But we have expressed our interest to do something.
So again, I'll speak up and kind of update everybody on this as well. The town is formally, the back in latter part of last year that the town council approved. I forgot the amount. I think it was somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 to be funded for extra maintenance or attention toward the Twin Lakes. Currently, staff is working on that. Has worked with a contractor to, at his discretion, to use some of that extra money to formally do the maintenance and the extra attention on the Twin Lakes. Again, with ERCs wanting to be involved with the Twin Lakes project and advice, and you seek involvement with that, again, I think this would be a point where a motion would need to be made to formally ask councils and request council to direct you in your involvement or to be involved at all with the Twin Lakes project and research.
Before we get to that point, I had thought that there was already, I don't know where I got this impression, but that the town was already interested in the ERC being involved.
I don't know if that was formally discussed or given direction to you by council, but I think that's where it needs to come from.
All right.
Would someone like to make a motion?
Yes,
Leila.
absolutely. Yes, we'd like to make a motion that ERC be involved, formally involved in anything related to Twin Lakes maintenance, conservation, as well as research. And I like the model of the Jinx Creek research to determine the issues, the problems of the lakes with scientific community and address it appropriately. Second.
I second the motion.
Is there any other discussion to that? Steve?
I would just perfect that motion by adding request, making a request of the council that we be involved.
Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay.
You good, Katie?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I will again, I'll take both of these to the council and these motions together. As the staff liaison, I'll take these to council in February to see what they say.
Thank you. The next item is the Sunset Beach Recycling Report. As part of Tara's report to council, she provided the statistics on the results of the Sunset Beach Recycling Program. And that was included in the packet of information for the meeting. Last year, when we had looked at the year of 2022, we had done some analysis, and it was apparent to us that the town had an overall participation rate in recycling of about 22%, which seems very, very low. But when you break the statistics, the numbers down, the people that live in Sunset Beach year-round and the permanent residents of Sunset Beach have a 50% participation rate in the Sunset Beach program, which means that there's a large population of people who don't live here year-round, either tourists or part-time residents here who don't participate. So the overall, the people that live in Sunset Beach do a very good job, I believe, of recycling, because a lot of the people that aren't in the Sunset Beach Town program recycle on their own. They go to the convenience centers and dispose of their recycled materials on their own without pickup by the town. So the challenge then becomes, if we want to raise the overall town participation rate, we need to have some incentive or some way to get people who are here only part-time to participate in the program. The only way that comes to mind normally would be mandatory recycling. And we know the town is opposed to mandatory recycling. But the issue is not that the town doesn't want to recycle. The town does want to recycle, but we've got to come up with a creative and innovative way of getting people that don't live here all the time to participate in the recycling program. And that challenge continues to face us going into 2024. So that will be one of our challenges for the new year's to work on that and see if we can come up with some ways to improve those statistics.
Katie, when you talk, what reasons did they give if they didn't renew or canceled?
They don't.
They just say, okay, thanks for calling.
They just say we're not interested this year.
But they don't give it, or you guys don't ask? Is there a reason? It just seems, I mean, we have more, excuse me, non-renewals as the cost goes up. And I know in my own neighborhood, I have some neighbors that were pretty faithful recyclers that stopped when, especially once the cost hit over $100. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's something about that dollar amount, I think, just hit people. That that we're paying a lot to recycle. We pay it anyway. We're just paying it in landfill fees, I guess. But
And it is cheaper
but
to go
you know,
through
when
the town.
I know when we looked at it this last year, the numbers may not look astronomically high, but they're very comparable to what other communities are able to achieve. So,
And the one thing we can't measure is the voluntary recycling that work that's done.
yeah,
But if you go up to the convenience center on Seaside Road
they're full.
during normal business hours, it's a busy place.
Yeah.
We
And
do suggest that too. If people do complain about the cost or don't want to renew, we do suggest that they can use that recycling facility.
it's a busy place, and the containers the county keeps up there are full.
I've got to interject. We've lived here almost 5 years, and first 2.5 or so, I took my recyclables up to either that site or the one on Georgetown Road, Osier Road. They got tired of doing that because it's either full or need to do it on the day that the Seaside site's closed. So we figured, well, let's just get a container from the town and not have to mess with it. So that's our situation. The other thing, I think I mentioned this a year or two ago, in our development, there's about 90 some odd households, about 10% of which are seasonal people. So that leaves about 80 households, and twice in the last 2 years, I've driven around on recycling day to see how many new containers there are out there. It's about 10. Now, that's just our subdivision. Doesn't mean everybody put theirs out on that day, but that's our subdivision.
But
Whatever that's worth.
you live very close to the convenience center too.
Yeah, we are closer than closer than anybody else in town. Yeah. But
that's sort of the unknown for us,
Yeah.
is what percent may be going there.
it's hard to tell. The other thing, I question, how many total households are there in the town? Total households.
Well, she gave us that number last year,
that
but I
in
don't
somewhere?
remember it.
Well, we have to get that. I haven't followed up with Tara to ask her for
Yeah.
a breakdown on that.
Yeah.
But I think that's something the recycling subcommittee needs to have on their agenda for the year. But that's kind of the status of where we stand as of the end of last year and the beginning of this year.
Let me mention one other thing that's been a burr under my saddle.
Don't mention the sign.
Okay,
We've heard that.
I'm beating a dead horse, right?
Well, you're
You're
on the committee. That should be able to do something.
I have tried several different ways, several different times to get the state through the county's support to put a highway sign saying recycling site this way or whatever, similar to the signs out on Highway 17 that say landfill this way or whatever. And I have not been able to get anything done with that. Like I was trying to get them to move the Rock of Gibraltar or something. So I'm thinking maybe this committee could support a resolution to take to council next month to send to their county commissioner to have DOT put signs up. I would be greatly relieved. There's no good reason they wouldn't do it.
costs money.
Well,
That's
with
a good
DOT's
reason.
budget, that's not even a speck on the page. You see.
They don't have it in their budget to do it.
Is that a responsibility of the DOT, or is that
The
the
DOT
county?
would put up the sign. There would be green background with white lettering.
And it's up to their
Up to their
judgment,
their
up to their
discretion.
discretion.
And much like the signs on Highway 17 up in near Bolivia pointing to the landfill. You've been by there, you probably have noticed. Paid attention
Right.
to. Same idea.
So you want to make a resolution?
I'll bring one to to this committee next month. All right, one up for the committee's resolution, committee's consideration next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion on recycling?
Yes. So it appears to me that the most problematic population that is not recycling is not the permanent residents of Sunset Beach, but the tourists, renters, and all that. Has the town or anybody considered going out to real estate agencies who have control of their rental properties and individual owners of rental properties to include certain fee, service fee? Like when you rent on Airbnb, you have service fee, cleaning fee, so that for the tourist season at least, that service fee would cover recycling bins. It's a hypothetical question.
I don't know. I had played around with the idea that that recycling could be taken out of, the cost of recycling could be taken out of the, I forget what they call it, the tax that the town charges,
The accommodation.
the accommodations tax. But that when I looked into that, that's not what that should be used for. And I don't believe the town can require any additional charges to be added to those things, because that's, the accommodation tax is not based upon any local determination. It's determined by the state government.
Mm-hmm.
And what it can be used for is determined by the state government. So the most we can do would be encourage people to do recycling, encourage the property owners that rent the property to enter into to become members of the recycling program.
I thought Tara mentioned at the town council meeting that the property owners on the island do participate at a higher rate,
Mm-hmm.
a higher percentage, because those renters have so much trash, they can't
Mhm.
fit it in one trash bin. So if they give them recycling and instructions for it, then they can accommodate the amount of trash. And I know
Okay.
for those of us that recycle, you probably have more in almost always more in my recycling bin than in the
Mhm.
trash bin.
Mhm. Okay, so
So-
something is being done by the rental.
There, although, it might be a good topic for the recycling subcommittee to look at again, should we make an effort as we're going into the tourist season to re-educate.
Well, one complication may be with recycling on the island is that recycling is only picked up every other Wednesday. So how that would work with seasonal people coming in for vacation, I don't know.
Mhm.
You're an engineer.
Don't give back to him.
How that
Keep
work with-
toys away from this kid.
how that would work with vacationers and so forth, I don't know.
I think that, Candace spoke well about that. That's something the recycling subcommittee needs to investigate deeper, and so that'll be part of that.
Mr. Everett, I think you said recycling is weekly on the island during the summer.
Recycling?
Yes.
That's
I
on,
didn't know.
Yeah.
On
During the,
Wednesdays?
it's moved to Saturdays.
I mean,
It's moved to Saturdays.
yeah, recycling is, they're picked up every week.
on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I wish they'd pick up ours every week.
Yeah.
Serious.
That's why the recycling rate is higher for the island.
Well, we're on the mainland, but
They pay more. They pay more to have it done every week.
all they do?
Mm-hmm.
And the rentals are Saturday through Saturday, so it's very logical.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Do you fill yours up every week?
Some weeks we just about do, yeah.
All right, moving on. The next item is the local restaurant providing recycled utensils. Councilman Larkin shared what Mary Hughes had shared with us, that the Bistro 55 restaurant provides these utensils with their takeout orders. These utensils are made from agave with other sustainable source plant fibers. Products are allergy-free, they're gluten-free, I read from their website, for people that have gluten allergies. And they also provide these types of compostable containers for products. And according to the label on the container, it's made from 100% bamboo products. And I think as Mary mentioned, these items are a lot more expensive than what most restaurants provide for their takeout orders, but they are more environmentally friendly. They also have straws that are made from the same product. And if you read the description of the straws on the website, they will break down in the landfill over a period of a couple of years. So it's not something that's going to fall apart in use, but it's something that's not going to live around forever.
Where's Bistro 55?
Convention Center, Sea Trail.
Cincy Trail?
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
newly
Cincy
The
Sea
opened,
Convention
Trail.
Center.
it's a newly opened restaurant in Sea Trails Convention Center.
And as another task for the recycling subcommittee, we need to figure out how to help advertise what Bistro 55 is doing to help the environment and get the word spread around to the other restaurants in town that this is a good thing to do. So, Mary, thank you for bringing this, and Pete, I assume you're watching, so thank you for bringing this to our attention. New business. Next item is subcommittee restructuring. We have 3 subcommittees. We have the climate subcommittee, we have recycling subcommittee, and we have the green subcommittee. I guess first thing to talk about is, do we want to continue these 3 subcommittees in their focus, or do we want to change any of the subcommittee focus, or do we want to add subcommittees? What ideas do people have?
The Green Subcommittee, the last time we met, I think it's towards the end of September, because Michael was getting ready to go in for his surgery, and Mila was going out of town, and then I was having my own health things. So, but one of the things we discussed, since the town would be having an events coordinator, would the ownership of Earth Day, Arbor Day would not necessarily be our big challenge. And we were more interested, I think, in looking at other alternatives, like looking at, I'm sorry, guys, composting as a way to reduce things going to the landfill and being green in our yards, reducing the amount of turf, some alternatives there, and we can thank Lynn for bringing that to our attention. More natural landscapes, looking at improving the tree canopy wherever we can. And so looking at more of the big picture. And then possibly if the Twin Lakes project is assigned, then maybe that's something Green Committee could work on. I think we would like to.
Okay, in my mind, composting would come under recycling.
It could, but it's never come up there. So I can see that fitting both places.
Right. And
And
natural
that's why we thought we
landscaping.
might take it, because it's not been looked at, and it fits in with like some of the stormwater management, rain gardens and things like that.
Where does the county stand on compost? Has
Well,
that ever
I
come
mean,
up with, has that ever, sorry.
They do take stuff, I hate to think, materials and create compost from it that could be picked up at the landfill. I'm not sure if it's a year-round process or not. I've never really dived into it. But I've got a meeting tomorrow with the Keep Brunswick County Beautiful committee, and I will ask that question to the waste management, to the county solid waste person who's on that committee.
Okay.
Composting. I think I'm just not real sure. Of course, the issue is how many people know about it. That I don't know.
Well, it's not just that it's available there, but it's how do we utilize it to reduce what we're putting into our own
Right.
trash.
Right.
So less is going to the landfill. And I think we were looking at more is, are these projects that maybe we can do in our neighborhoods?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a whole different
A
thing.
community garden or something
Yeah.
like that, where, because I don't think we have a great way that the county can do what it needs to for composting. I don't know that they can. I think they do mulch, but I don't know about composting.
Maybe.
But at any rate, those are just some of the things we were talking about, changing our focus a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, do we change the focus of the subcommittee, or do we just include it under existing subcommittees? Because like natural landscaping to me is green,
Yeah,
and composting is part of recycling. And
we can go there if the recycling subcommittee wants to take that on, but if they don't, it's something that we would look at doing. And when we talked about it, we had that discussion that maybe this is in recycling, maybe not, just so that somebody's looking at that.
And as far as Twin Lakes goes, I would agree if we get approval from the town to participate in that we might have a standalone subcommittee for that.
Okay.
I'm just thinking out loud here, and that's awfully dangerous, but I'm on the HOA board in our development, and I don't know where we'd put a community composting site in our development.
But something you'd have to look at, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Take a walk around. I don't know, Don. I'm not answering for everybody's community. I'm just saying,
I mean, as a
do we need to look at alternatives? You could put a little compost pile in your own yard if
Sure you
there's not a
could.
town restriction, is
I
there?
don't, I
I
can't imagine.
mean, you can compost, you can have natural areas. However, if they violate the town code or the UDO, then that comes into
Yeah,
enforcement
is there a
procedures.
code for, is there any kind of code on
Again, I mean, if
composting?
if it's considered a public nuisance by town staff and
I'm-
attraction of
I'm thinking of the
noxious
kind you
weeds
do in
and
your home
grass and
garden.
mice and rats and all that, then yeah, it would
Well,
become a nuisance
you
abatement
don't-
situation.
You're not supposed to compost the things that bring mice and rats.
Right.
No, when we lived in Shiloh, we composted. No, of course, we didn't have a garbage disposal, so we threw a lot of.
I mean, if composting takes eggshells and putting it
Yeah.
in your mulch and helping your plants grow, that's one thing. If you have a pile of mountain of smelly trash that it becomes in your backyard, that's another thing completely.
Yeah.
I know there
I
are
don't
some
think that's-
HOAs that prohibit composting
Yeah.
Why?
because
Yeah.
because of what he just described.
Same guys that tell you can't put in trees. Just take it away.
Yeah.
There you go.
At any rate, but so I don't think we need to get detoured by composting. We can discuss it in our committees, and if recycling takes it, good. If they don't, then green can take a look at that. But it was just as I said, we're just looking at some of
Right.
the other ideas and being a little bit broader than just Earth Day, Arbor Day, and Tree City, USA. So
Yeah, I didn't mean to hijack this discussion. I'm sorry. You kind of got into it a little too much.
All right, well, let me ask the question differently. Do we want to change should we keep the titles of the subcommittees the same?
I think you're fine to, I think
If we break down the participation in subcommittees, excuse me, somebody can be on more than one subcommittee if they want to be. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So if we add another subcommittee for Twin Lakes and somebody wants to be on that and they're on another subcommittee, they can do both. The reason we did subcommittees is because we can have up to three people working together on a topic without creating a public meeting law situation. So, right now, Rich was the chair of the Green Committee, but he has left. I'm the chair of the Climate Subcommittee. Does anyone want to change their subcommittee participation?
It may depend what happens with Twin Lakes.
Twin Lakes, yeah. Waiting for the town to decide on the Twin Lakes.
So no one speaks up, then I don't, well, I'll just assume we will continue to the same participation in subcommittees that we had last year.
Well, we can always kick the can down the road, as they say. If something comes up with Twin Lakes next month or month after, we can always structure. I don't think these.
But for now, leave
So we're not
the way
going to
they
make
are.
any changes
At the moment.
All right.
I suggest.
All right. Subcommittee discussions are next. Climate Subcommittee, we talked about the Big Creek Tubbs Inlet study that we're doing. That's the major activity of that committee. In addition, we have been tracking the results of storms that occur. And we look at tides, we look at wind directions, we look at the level of flooding that occurs in the island and along the intercoastal waterway. One thing I have observed this year, and I haven't confirmed it 100%, but based on some photographs that Councilman John Corbett put on Facebook, when the tide level gets high enough to flood over the bulkheads where he lives, the tide level is about 8 feet. And that seems to be coincident with the flood level when the roadway between the island and the mainland floods over. And I've always wondered how much water it would take to flood the causeway, but a tide of about 8 feet will be enough to do that.
Wasn't the causeway closed here one of the recent storms?
It's been closed several times.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know the town is looking at some kind of flood protection measures that can be taken to minimize that closure.
Yeah, I think Chad had mentioned that the town had met with DOT once or twice on that.
I mean, the town and the emergency operations part of it has the discretion. So they take everything into consideration when they make those decisions. We almost had to do it last week. I don't know if we ever did or not, but yeah.
The Green Subcommittee,
I think what we just spoke about is that, that we're looking at some alternative projects to work on this year.
okay. Recycling,
Don't really have a report.
all right. What I would ask each subcommittee to do is come back to us next month and kind of outline what your goals and objectives would be for the year. Next item is Tree City USA. Chad, what can we do to get that?
I have this on my board now. This is
Okay.
going to be something I'm going to have to dig into to see where we're at. I plan on doing that, starting that as well. And I will involve y'all as need be, and as we go from there. I wanted to go over some of the comments that were made at the council meeting a couple weeks ago. Is that we do have a ordinance that talks about tree mitigation, tree preservation, how guidelines on how you can cut down trees and remove trees and fill and grade and all that type stuff.
But that's related to development.
No, it's related to.
Homeowners?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if you as Johnny Q homeowner want to come in and remove a tree, you have to go through the provisions of the Unified Development Ordinance. So,
Now, how
and
about,
we
how
do
about,
that.
how about like in Sea Trail? I've always been told that Sea Trail, they have,
They're not. I mean, Sea Trail, as far as development standards and once your homeowner standards, they're two separate things. Both of them are under the Unified Development Ordinance on how they proceed. Some of the development standards are more stricter because they involve the state to some degree as well. But yeah, if you want to remove a tree in your backyard, there are provisions that allow you to do so or not allow you to do so in the Unified Development Ordinance. So I will look on that. I think the biggest hurdle is going to come down to submitting finance stuff to how much we spend on a year-to-year basis on trees, especially landscaping here in the town, and then figuring out the tree board situation, if this board already applies to that, or the planning board applies to that, and kind of going from there. But this
Good.
will be something I work on.
good, thank you. Next item is BEMC Community Grant Application. Last year, we submitted a grant request to the BEMC for up to $2,500 that would be used for environmental improvements in the town.
I will look into this as well. I know the deadline was about February of last year, so we're getting close to that. I need to look into. It was forever that they even put up the application, remember last year, to formally submit. So I'll look into that and have an update for you in February.
Okay. Last item is the rescheduling of the February meeting. That is a question. I will be out of town. I'll be in California
Oh,
at that time celebrating our anniversary.
all right.
Do we want to reschedule the meeting or do we want to go ahead and have it?
That's at the pleasure of the board.
What's the pleasure of the board?
What's the date?
The 21st of February.
21st of February.
I will say if you move it, you cannot move it back. You would not be able to move it back the following week at all. You would have to move it up.
Like the 14th.
Keith,
Mm-hmm. As long as Alan is available. Alan, are you available on the 14th of February? Okay,
That
you
doesn't
are
help
as
me at
well,
all
right?
because I'm not available that day either.
Say that again. You won't be here on the 14th either?
well, let's just go ahead and meet without chair. Unless you want to move it to a Tuesday or Thursday, then we have complications maybe with other people. Well, I don't know.
I'm fully confident in your all ability to have a meeting without me, so.
We have very competent vice chairs.
Well, if you get really motivated, you can zoom in with us.
Can do fine.
He can
Can't.
zoom in.
He could not.
He can't? Is that
We
what
don't
you do?
allow Zooms.
It's hard to do from 35,000 feet.
Well, he's got,
Oh,
Not to
He does.
mention he would be zooming in at 7 a.m. So
he's
Yeah.
an early riser. So we're going to continue.
We'll continue
have the
to-
meeting on the 21st as usual.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, if I may task you with, if you wish to interject any comments, just prepare Steve and the for that as we set that agenda.
all right. Any other discussion on that? All right. Now it's time for public comments. Do you have any further public comments, Mary?
Mary Hughes, 513 Lakeshore Drive. I welcome the input and assistance that the committee would give the Twin Lakes. I will say that there was spraying done on the 16th on the East Lake. So I'm hoping that translates into the West Lake at some point, but not sure, what they were spraying for, if that's been evaluated, but that would be something that would be helpful to know, that we're targeting whatever's in that lake. So that's it. Thank you.
Right.
Mhm. I live in the West Lake.
That comes to the end of the agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, or a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for attending.